Alright, let's read some psukim. I want to point out a seeming inconsistency that my Rashiva pointed out, Rabbi Ruderman. So, page 318, if you have the art scroll, Chumash. Yep. Or you can just listen. 6:6, Vav Vav, it says, Lachein Emor Lebnei Yisrael, say to the children of Israel, Ani Hashem, V'otzesi Eschem mitachas divlos Mitzrayim, I am Hashem, and I will take them out of the burdens of Egypt. V'tzalti Eschem, I'll save them, Avoidasam, from their work. V'ga'alti Eschem, B'zor Netuya, I'll redeem them with an outstretched arm, U'b'shvatim Gedalim, with big signs. V'lakachti Eschem li la'am, and I'll take them to be a people. V'ayisi lechem Elokim, and I'll be to them a God. V'itatim ki ani Hashem, they will know that I am Hashem, Elokechem, their God. Hamotzi Eschem mitachas divlos Mitzrayim, that took them out of Egypt. I'm going to bring them to the land. They showed to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and they will be a heritage. It will be a heritage for them. I'm Hashem. That's Hashem speaking to Moshe, instructing Moshe to take the Jews out of Egypt. Moshe responds, Moshe didn't respond to Hashem. Moshe says to the Jewish people, he spoke everything that Hashem said to the Jewish people. What did they do? How did the Jewish people respond? V'lo shamu el Moshe. They did not listen to Moshe. Mikaitza ruach, from the shortness of breath, literally, ume'avoda kasha, and from the hard work. So they did not listen to Moshe when Hashem told them, when Moshe told them that Hashem is going to take them out of the land of Egypt. I apologize. If that happened to me in class, I have marks for when the students don't behave, which never happens. So when the rabbi doesn't behave and his phone goes off in class, the rabbi gets a mark.
And when you get so many marks?
What? Yep.
And when you get so many marks, what happens?
I lose my recess.
That's terrible.
Which I usually don't do. Actually, I like playing football with the kids. Okay. So let's look at another pasuk from last week's parsha that Rabbi Ruderman pointed out. So here we see the Jewish people are not listening. They do not believe that Hashem is going to take them out of Egypt. So we go to Dalid Chavtes. 429.
Considered a failure to have trust in Hashem, or a failure to have trust in Moshe.
That's what we're going to discuss. So it says like this. This is the beginning. So that was this week's parsha. Now we're in last week's parsha. Parsha Shmos. Vayelech Moshe ve'Aaron. Moshe and Aaron went. Vayasvu as kol ziknei bnei Yisrael, and they gathered all the elders of Israel. Vaydaber Aaron as kol advarim asher diber Hashem, and Aaron spoke all the things that Hashem diber Hashem al Moshe. The Hashem spoke to Moshe. Vayasa osus leinei am, and he made signs in front of the people. V'yamein am, and the people believed. V'yishmu ki pakad Hashem as bnei Yisrael, and they believed that the Hashem would redeem the Jewish people. V'chiraes Anyam v'ikdu v'shtachu, when they saw their oppression, and they bowed. So clearly you see here, last week's parsha, the people believed that they were going to be redeemed by Hashem. How come in this week's parsha, all of a sudden, it says they didn't listen because of the kaitza ruach and avoda kasha? So Rav Ruderman says, let's look at another pasuk, 5:2. Hey. Phase. This pasuk is when Moshe approached Pharaoh. Moshe and Aaron go to Pharaoh and says, Pharaoh, let my people go. He responds, Vayomer Pharaoh, Mi Hashem asher eshma b'kolo. Who is Hashem that I should listen to his voice? The Shalach es Yisrael, to send out the Jewish people. Lo yadati es Hashem. I do not know this Hashem, and I also will not send them out. The Zohar asks a question on this pasuk. It says, Pharaoh was a smart fellow. There were tons of gods all around the world. Pharaoh never heard of Hashem, right? He had Osiris, in school they made us memorize all those Egyptian gods, with the weird beaks and the funny, half bird. Was it Janus? All those things. He didn't know Hashem? Of course he knew Hashem. So what does it mean? So the Zohar says that he never heard of God with the Shem Hashem. God has many names. There's one name we use, Hashem, Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. But he did know of Hashem, of God, in the name of Elokim. Elokim is the name of God, which denotes God working within Teva, within nature. That Pharaoh heard of. But a God, Hashem, that overrides nature, is beyond nature, can do things that have totally conquer nature, that he never heard of.
Somebody once said the word Elohim is a plural.
Right, because it means Balakochos Kulam. It means all the powers are really Hashem's powers. I think there's also Kabbalistic reasons for that. So what Pharaoh was saying is that by the laws of nature, the Jews are not leaving. The name of Elohim, the Jews are not leaving. Moshe wasn't talking about the name of Elohim. He specifically said, Hashem, Yud-Ke Vav-Ke, through the holy name that it's going to be beyond nature. So with that answers our OG question, original question. The people had faith in God that He would redeem them, but they felt that He was going to redeem them with the natural order, the natural way of things. They had faith. They had a Messiah. They had a tradition going back that they would be slaves and they would be redeemed. However, after they were burdened with the extra work and what that did to them psychologically and emotionally, it affected them spiritually. They didn't have enough faith that Hashem would bend the rules, destroy, totally uproot the laws of nature to redeem them. So we're saying that in Parsha Shmos, they believed in Hashem. They believed they were going to get redeemed. But after all of the extra hard work and all of the things that were going through, Ruderman says they didn't have enough faith that Hashem was going to redeem them through supernatural means, totally overdoing the laws of nature. And that's what the name Hashem, Yud-Ke Vav-Ke, the name, the Shem Agnus it's called, that's what it denotes. That Hashem is not bound by nature at all. It means nothing to Him. That's why it says. And the point, what do I want to say from this? The Jewish people, they were in this horrible burden, horrible state of being slaves, being oppressed, children being murdered, and their faith weakened. Their faith weakened. They said, there is no natural way that we're going to get out of this situation. No natural way we're going to get out of this situation. But they should have believed, they should have had emunah, that doesn't matter to Hashem. Everything's the same in front of Hashem. Natural way you can't get out of it, doesn't make a difference. It says, the Gemara in Bracha says, Yud Amud Aleph 10a, even if there is a sharp knife on your neck, do not withhold mercy. Don't stop davening. Don't stop asking for mercy. Even if it looks, through all of the natural means and all of the ways of nature, that there's no way of getting out of this situation. There's the knife, the executioner has the knife, and he's ready to go down. Don't give up. A Jew never gives up. Yeush, giving up, no such thing by a Jew. All we have to do, we have to trust in Hashem, and we have to try our best. It says, right, we know that God is beyond nature. God can do anything. Just like Hashem makes oil burn, He can make vinegar burn. It's meaningless to Him, nothing. Once a Jew internalizes this, there's never a situation in a person's life where he should give up hope.
Certainly made a bush burn without actually being consumed.
Right. Hashem doesn't. We give up. We think there's no natural way that I could ever get out of this situation, so that I might as well give up.
Created by Hashem.
Exactly. And not only was it created, but the fact that it's operating right now, there's no such thing. It's not. We said this before. It's not shot that Hashem made gravity and said, "Okay, gravity, do your thing." But every second, Hashem is making gravity operate. This second, this cup is going to the table because Hashem wants it to go on the table at this second. If Hashem didn't want to, I wouldn't be surprised if the cup just started flying in the air, because Hashem wants that to happen. You know, Basia, Bas Paroi, she stuck out her hand. Rabbi Burstein just said this over to me. She stuck out her hand to get Moshe. So according to some midrashim, some say Moshe was 60 amos away. Some say 200 amos. That's either about probably 80 feet.
Sent the servant to retrieve the basket.
So there's a medrash that says she actually stuck out her hand and
grabbed it herself.
What?
Grabbed it herself.
But she reached, but it was 300 yards away.
Okay.
She wasn't crazy. What was she doing? No, her arm extended, and this happened.
Is that right? Wow.
And she got it.
That I never heard.
What was she doing? She's not an idiot.
Right.
The Chavetz Chaim says all a Jew has to do is try. You don't have to accomplish. You just have to try. Just do your best. She stuck out her hand. Maybe something will happen. This is her best. All she could do, stick out her hand. It was 300 feet away. But she tried her best, and Hashem made a miracle happen. Not only that,
she converted also, right?
And she converted, right. And we call him Moshe.
Wow.
Moshe is the name that Basia gave Moshe.
Shemite.
Yeah.
Given by,
he was given other names by his parents.
Yeah.
But for all eternity, we call him Moshe because of what she did.
Wow.
She took him from the water. So it's always a question: who do we believe in? Once you believe in Hashem, and He's the one that you put your trust in, anything is possible. Chovos HaLevavos famously in his introduction to the Shar B'Tachon says, just like a servant is required to trust in his master, he says someone who doesn't trust in Hashem, if you don't trust in Hashem, you have to trust in somebody, right? If you don't trust in Hashem, you're either going to trust in your own abilities, you're going to trust in your boss, you're going to trust in the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, Donald Trump, Joe Biden. I trust Joe Biden, he'll make the country great. I trust in Donald Trump.
People thought that they were all wrong.
Some people would say that just to be equal, some people would say that by Donald Trump. People treat Donald Trump like a messianic character, messianic figure, even if you agree with his policies.
A lot of Orthodox Jews have given shurim on about Trump being...
I'm coming to come against these people. You can like Trump's policies, but your salvation is not coming from Donald Trump.
No.
Make this clear. It's coming from Hashem. If you put your faith in Donald Trump, then Hashem is going to say, okay, let's see what Trump can do on his own. But if you put your trust in Hashem, who should you put your trust in? Donald Trump, or Lahavdel Elf Alfe 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 Havdalos. Hashem, who is beyond nature, created everything, can do anything, everything. You put your faith in the most powerful being. Put your faith in Hashem.
Like Moshe, Hashem also created Donald Trump. He serves a purpose in this world.
Everyone serves a purpose, but he has, like the rest of us,
He's got a glacier purpose.
he has free will. We all have free will.
Yeah.
Humans have free will. So,
he's been using it correctly as far as I'm concerned.
Some say also by Abraham when he fought the war with the kings earlier in Lech Lecha. So, it says that he had 318 soldiers. Now some say it wasn't 318 soldiers that he had, but he just had his servant Eliezer. The gematria, the numerical value of the name Eliezer is 318. He said it was just Abraham and Eliezer fighting an entire war versus these armies. Yeush, the gematria of Yeush, of giving up, is 317. Just the fact that Abraham tried with Eliezer, gematria of 318. One more, that's all it takes. A little bit of trying, giving up, Hashem helps you the rest of the way. Why? A Jew never, ever gives up. A person could be lost from the Jewish people. A person could be totally detached. He should never give up because Hashem runs the world. And once we internalize the fact that Hashem runs the world, that's the reason why we should never give up. And just because something doesn't seem that it could happen from natural means, that's zero reason why we should ever give up. Because we internalize the fact. And the more that we internalize this fact, the more that Hashem helps us, because the greater our faith is and trust in Hashem, the more He deals with us in that way. There's a famous story that I love. I apologize if you know it. Steve might know it. About how Hashem runs the world and how by natural means this couldn't have happened. There was a guy, they say his name was Dan. I forgot his last name. The website I saw, his name was Dan. He was davening in a shul in Yerushalayim, and he saw what looked like a Moroccan Jew in the back of the shul. And he was going to go home for Shabbos. He was going to go home. He didn't want guests. But he said, no, I'm going to do a mitzvah. I have Achnaz Zorchim. He said, would you like to come to me for Shabbos? For a Shabbos meal? He said, sure. He said, what's your name? He said, Machi. Oh, very nice, Machi. He brought the boy home. They started singing Shalom Aleichem. He saw the boy did not know how to daven. He didn't know how to sing the Zmiros. So he felt bad. He said, is there any song that you would like to sing? He says, there was a song that they sang in the synagogue that was just so beautiful. And it really touched me. Can we sing it again? So he said, what was the song? He said, Lecha something, Lecha. He said, Lecha Dodi. Oh, we can sing Lecha Dodi. So they sang Lecha Dodi. Very nice. And the meal, they're schmoozing. After the first course, after the soup, he says, oh, his name was Dan Eisenblatt. After the first course, he said, would you like to sing another song? He says, I would love to sing that Lecha Dodi song again. He sings Lecha Dodi. Sing it again. Okay, he's a very interesting guy. And again, after the main chorus, he's at the minute, he said some Divrei Torah, talked about things. He said, would you like to sing another song? He says, could we please sing Lecha Dodi again? So the guy thought the is a little meshuggah, and he said, okay, we can do that. And they sang Lecha Dodi again. Now, They did that, went on for a few times, and at the end of the meal he realized that he never asked him where he's from. So he says, Machi, where are you from? So he said, Ramallah. He says, he thought to himself, Ramallah. Oh, you must have said Ramlah. Ramlah is a city in Israel. Ramallah is the capital of the West Bank. So he said, oh, Ramlah. He says, do you know Rabbi so-and-so? He's like, no, there's no Jews where I live. He's like, what? He's like, I'm from Ramallah. He's like, what do you mean you're from Ramallah? He's like, oh, I'm Arab. He says, so that's the question. So he says, I could tell you're a little confused. Let me explain. Oh, he said, and then he says, what's your name? He said, Machi. He said, what's that short for? So he said, Mahmoud ibn Esh Sharif. So,
could get more Arabic than that.
So Mahmoud said, let me tell you what happened. He says, I grew up in Ramallah, and he said, I was always taught to hate the Zionist Yahud oppressors, and I was taught it's a big mitzvah to kill them. And it bothered me, because it said in the Quran, it says, I guess allegedly somewhere it says that you're supposed to love other people. So it bothered him, and he started reading about Judaism, thought it was very interesting, and his father, apparently, either, I don't know if he noticed some of his pro-Jewish books, or he was asking these questions that were making his father very uncomfortable, so his father kicked him out of the house. And before he kicked him out of the house, he snuck back at night to get some of his belongings, and he saw his mother. He said, Mom, I am leaving forever, Dad kicked me out. And he says, you know what, I'm going to go live amongst the Jews and learn about Judaism. And maybe, who knows, maybe I'll convert to Judaism one day.
That must have been a stinger for that.
So the mother said, you don't have to. I'm Jewish.
No.
She said, she was a Sephardi woman in Israel, and what happens very often, Israeli women get seduced by Arab men. She married him. I promised your father I would never...
convert? Because you would have demanded her to convert.
I guess on the outside she converted. She said, I promised your father I would never tell you, but now I'm telling you. Here is your Israeli passport. Here is your Tudat Zahut, or whatever it's called. Here is a picture of my grandparents standing by the grave of one of our ancestors. I'm giving you this, and that's it. So the guy says, he's at Dan's house, he says, it's an incredible story. He says, do you happen to have that picture with you? He said, yeah, I always carry it with me. So Dan looked at the picture and he plopped. The picture was of two elderly Sephardic Jews, and they were standing at a cemetery in Tzfas, and they were standing by the graveside of Rav Shlomo Alkabetz, who was the author of Lecha Dodi. There was something in this guy's neshama that made him come back.
That's fantastic.
The point of this story is Hashem runs the world. If Hashem, this lady married an Arab, thought her kids are going to be not Jewish forever, Hashem made something in this boy's mind go, there's something in his neshama, orchestrated these events, that he meets this guy, all these things happen, that he...
Neshama was a Jewish neshama.
Yeah, he had something in him.
Jewish,
right.
He was Jewish.
And a neshama is beyond nature. This could never happen naturally.
There's also another story where there was the Arab kid that always used to like going to the shul. The shul always let him stay for Kiddush. And he told his mother, his mother said that their relative was this other rabbi. I forgot his name.
A similar story?
Yeah.
There's many...
I think it was the Vilna Gaon.
Really?
Yeah.
A little more, I just read this also recently. There was a fellow named Avraham Almaliach. He they told us Aaron Rebbe in Yerushalayim, he had a Hanukkah lighting, a menorah lighting for orphans. This fellow was an orphan. And he handed out these pamphlets about Kabbalas Ol Malchus Shemayim, about accepting the yoke of heaven, which means accepting the fact that Hashem is in charge. Whatever I do, I have to do what I have to do, but Hashem is the one who does it anyway. That's what the book was about. How we recognize that Hashem's in charge. He runs the world. Right? And he always kept this booklet with him. It was Shabbos. He took it out of his pants pocket. He put it in his suit jacket. So he was walking to the Kosel. This happened 3 years ago. He was walking to the Kosel through Shar Shechem, Damascus Gate, which not so intelligent to walk through anymore. No. And he got stabbed. Right. When the paramedics came, they saw the stab wound was right through his suit jacket, landed in the pamphlet about accepting the yoke of heaven, and saved his life.
Wow. It's like so many stories I hear about people who just decide they're going to go back home and put on their tzitzis and they somehow avoid some kind of tragedy that way.
Exactly.
These stories all the time.
Hashem runs the world, that's the point. Hashem runs the world. A Jew, how can you ever, and no matter what situation you're in, you can never give up hope, because we recognize that Hashem runs the world. Another one, I saw this thought, I saw all these good stories today that I have to share. There's another one. Shlomo Karbach was once on a plane, and he noticed there was a flight attendant who was davening very passionately. And he approached her. He said, "I've never seen an Orthodox Jewish flight attendant before." So she said, I actually just converted to Judaism. There was something very, very special I felt about being a Jew, something drawing me to Judaism. And he said, "It's amazing." She said, "Well, actually, there's an issue. Can you please help me?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm engaged to a young man. I want to get married."
He's not Jewish.
He is Jewish. That's the problem. However, his father is a Holocaust survivor and doesn't want me to.
Doesn't want a convert. No
doesn't want a convert. Won't let his son marry a convert. So she said, "Can you please call the father?" So Shlomo Karbach calls the father. He explains to him in the mitzvah to love a convert, and she's a very sincere, and there's no reason you shouldn't go forward with it. And he says, "I don't care." I said, "I survived the gas chambers, and I said I have one son, and he's going to marry a Jew from birth. I don't know what her motives are. She's been Jewish for 5 minutes. I don't care. Not going to happen." So shortly after that, she was very upset, very disappointed. Right? No hope. The love of her life. She thought she could finally have a Jewish husband. The son wouldn't go against his father's wishes. Devastated. So, since she converted, her parents didn't have much to do with her. But she found out not only was her mother sick, but she was deathly ill. She went to visit her mother on her deathbed, and the mother said to her, "I need to ask you something." So I said, "Promise me you'll bury me in a Jewish cemetery." The daughter says, "What?" She says, "I never told you this, but your father and I are Jewish.
Oy, oy, oy.
We escaped the Holocaust, and we were so afraid of anti-Semitism, we said we're never going to tell anyone we're Jewish. We're going to raise our family as non-Jews, and we're never going to tell them. But I can't ask your father. Promise me you'll bury me in a Jewish cemetery." So
What about the father? Was he already dead, or
he was still alive. The story gets better.
And, I hope his wishes are the same.
Shlomo Karbach calls back the father of the groom and tells him what happened. And he agrees. So yeah, she's really Jewish. I'll let my son marry her. Well, then, when it came time for the father of the bride to meet the father of the groom, one said to each other, "Yaakov?" The other said, "Moshe?" They knew each other from the same shtetl in Europe. They're both in the Holocaust. And they even said when they were kids, they had promised if they ever had kids, they would marry each other. But look at this girl where she was at. She's totally given up hope. There's no natural way you're going to convince this stubborn old Jewish Holocaust survivor to renege. And look what happens. Turns out her mother she was really Jewish the whole time.
She really had a strong Jewish neshama.
Right.
Really strong. Wow. That's impressive.
The point of all these stories is Hashem runs the world. Hashem can do anything. Afilu cherv chad munachas al tzavarim. Even if a sword is put on a person's neck, still not a reason to give up hope. Hashem can do anything. How could I give up hope? Still daven, still have trust in Hashem. He runs the world. A Jew can never give up hope. There's no such thing as Yeush. That's what I want to say tonight.